What's up everyone, welcome back to Quest Mode. Today we're counting down the top 10 roguelikes for the Nintendo Switch, which is an interesting genre because when you think about it, it doesn't really sound like that much fun. Here are games that are known for their difficulty, and when you try as hard as you can to get as far as you can and then die, for the most part they start you over from scratch. No saves, no continues, nothing. But the fact remains that when you get your hands on a good roguelike, it can be one of the most addictive and rewarding experiences in all of video games. Now, if you like top 10 videos for the Nintendo Switch just like this one, definitely subscribe to my channel and check out my previous videos where I count down the top 10 Metroidvanias for Switch, the top 10 RPGs for Switch, and more. But for now, let's get into it. I know what you're thinking. Isn't this video supposed to be about roguelikes? Well, Ironcast is a 2D turn-based roguelike with mechs dressed up as a match 3 puzzler. And believe it or not, it actually works. Each turn has you matching tiles of a similar color. Each color represents a different stat or attribute of your steampunk-style mech. So if you need to perform some repairs, match up a few green tiles, or if you need some coolant to keep from overheating, line up a few blue ones. Adding another layer of depth, each mission keeps you preoccupied with a certain objective. On one, you might have to defeat another mech in battle, and on the next, your only goal might be to survive a flurry of attacks. If you fail, death is permanent, but you do retain certain attributes for future runs, which is a feature I personally love in any roguelike. There's no question that Ironcast is different, so if you're looking for the game on this list that doesn't quite look like the others, this could be the one. I found the premise of Moonlighter to be particularly fascinating. It combines dungeon crawling, which is not exactly uncommon in the roguelike genre, with shop management. Let me explain. You play a shopkeeper who, during his off time, moonlights as a treasure hunter, which actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. What better way to attract new customers than by selling the loot you find in nearby caves and caverns? As you progress through the game's procedurally generated dungeons, you'll slowly grow your humble retail empire. This means more profits and, in turn, better gear. One of the more convenient features of the game is the ability to teleport from the dungeon back to your shop and stash your loot so you don't lose it should you meet an untimely demise. This creates a welcome layer of tension as you weigh the profits you'd gain from returning to town with the temptation to push deeper into the catacombs. Sure, the combat is pretty basic, but the gameplay loop of kill, loot, sell, repeat is what will keep you hooked. NEUROVOIDER is a futuristic twin-stick shooter where you play a brain. Yes, a brain. As said brain, you pilot a robot, and in said robot you shoot, bomb, and blast your way through well over a dozen procedurally generated levels. But NEUROVOIDER is all about customization. When you start, you choose between 3 robot classes, and you can outfit your rig with one of 27 different upgrades. If that wasn't enough, you can tweak and adjust your loadout after clearing each stage, and you even get to choose which level to play next. In other words, you've got incredible flexibility to change how each run plays out, which becomes a huge advantage once you become familiar with the available arsenal. And you can do it co-op with up to 4 players. That said, you will get your robotic ass handed to you many times before you get very far. Just don't give up before the magic happens. You know you've got a quality list when Darkest Dungeon is all the way down at number 7. This is a fantastically deep 2D tactical RPG. The general gist is that you recruit a team of heroes to descend 4 at a time into a seedy hole in the ground. Then you encounter all manner of hellish creatures and deviant madmen who want to use your blood to make a Jackson Pollock painting of the floor beneath you. Thankfully, the brutality of the combat is met by its depth. There is a lot to manage, not the least of which is your sanity. You see, in Darkest Dungeon, when a party member becomes too stressed, which will happen, they die. And when they die, they're gone for good. Thankfully, you can return to town to heal, rejuvenate, and upgrade your characters and replace your fallen comrades. Ultimately, this game is as deep as it is dark, so if you're looking for something simple, easy, or featuring even 1 ounce of sunshine or optimism, move along. But if you love rewarding systems that have you weighing the risks of nearly every decision, be prepared to enter the darkness. As one of my favorite indie games of all time, the premise of Rogue Legacy is hilarious. You play a lineage of knights, and every time you die, you take control of your immediate descendant. The catch is that you inherit a genetic condition that in some bizarre way affects the gameplay of your next playthrough. Take dyslexia, for example, which jumbles all the text on the screen, or gigantism, which doubles the size of your character and gives you extra strength. But while this one-of-a-kind gameplay mechanic is super charming, it's the way the game lets you permanently upgrade your character that plays into its crack rock level of addiction. Each run's loot can be spent to improve skills like strength, hit points, and magic damage, or to unlock entirely new character classes. Or if you prefer, you can shop for items and armor, which are discovered in the form of blueprints within the castle. The permanent form of progression is a welcome change for players who get frustrated by other roguelikes that start you from scratch each time you start over. The Binding of Isaac is considered by its most zealous fans to be one of the greatest games ever made, and at the very least, it's one of the weirdest. You play a baby who retreats into his filthy, crap-soaked basement to escape the wrath of his possessed mother. The gameplay mixes frenetic twin-stick shooting with procedurally generated dungeons that borrow certain elements from old-school Zelda games. No, you won't be solving puzzles, but you will be finding keys, buying items, battling bosses, and destroying every enemy in the room before you're allowed to move on to the next. Making every run worthwhile is the encyclopedia of randomly generated items that you can obtain throughout each run. There are nearly 300 to discover, from X-ray glasses that reveal secret entrances to an upside-down crucifix that gives Isaac demon wings and the ability to fly. You could literally play this game 100 times and you might only see half the available inventory. But if the game hooks you, you'll play it way more than that. CRYPT of the NECRODANCER is without a doubt the quirkiest, or dare I say, funkiest game on this list. Why? Well, it's actually a rhythm game. As you descend through each dungeon, everything you do has to be synced to the beat of the soundtrack. From moving, to attacking, to picking up items, it all has to be done with precise timing. If you lose sync with the beat, you lose your multiplier. If it sounds a little awkward, well, it is, but only at first. Once you get the hang of it, you'll enter a trance that's as rhythmic for your fingertips as it is pleasing to your ears. On the downside, the console version doesn't include the option to add your own music, which is available on PC, but that's okay because the game does feature 110 songs, and they're actually pretty good. If you're looking for something quirky and fun, or you just like the idea of skeletons doing the robot, then CRYPT of the NECRODANCER just might be, wait for it, your jam. Do you like guns, and dungeons, and dying? Perfect. As the name implies, Enter the Gungeon has you running and dashing through an underground bullet hell filled with enemies itching to blow your head off. But to put a finer point on it, this game is all about guns. There are hundreds to experiment with, each totally different from the next. Even the characters and the story itself are obsessed with firearms, and it's surprisingly funny. Of course, a game this chaotic would be absolutely miserable if the controls weren't spot on. Thankfully, the developers at Dodge Roll Games lived up to their name and added a fantastic, well, dodge roll to the control scheme. Sure, the bosses are still tough as nails, but this at least makes survival possible while still challenging. As your skills improve, you'll eventually make it deeper and deeper into the dungeon, and with the procedurally generated levels, bizarre enemies, and unpredictable item drops, doing it over and over again won't be a problem. Dead Cells is unique among side-scrolling roguelikes in that it adds a Metroidvania twist on the typical formula. See, as you try to beat this game over and over and over again, you'll discover new abilities that let you explore new areas of the procedurally generated levels. This gives you access to more items on each run, which in turn improves your odds of success as you spend more time with the game. Making things even more rewarding is an inventory system that has you permanently unlocking new weapons, items, and abilities. Like Rogue Legacy, this has you slowly improving your base character. Combine all that with controls and mechanics that are among the very best for any 2D platformer I've ever played, and you've got a game that will make your Switch as difficult to put down as any other game in your library. Oh, and let me not forget the music. It's absolutely spectacular. When Into the Breach released on PC early this year, it became an early contender for Game of the Year, and it still belongs in that conversation. It's a turn-based strategy game that seems extremely simple at first. Each level is short, just 5 turns, and small, always taking place on a chessboard-sized 8x8 map. But just like chess, Into the Breach is deeply layered and constantly rewards you for developing new strategies, whether on the battlefield or through the game's multiple progression systems. The different terrain types, from ice to desert to mountains, constantly force you to improvise your tactics, the world map provides unique incentives for choosing different paths forward, and the game lets you upgrade your mechs in ways that affect each run. You're always weighing decisions that keep you focused because when you die, of course, you start over. I can't possibly cover the full depth of this game here, but suffice to say, those who fall in love with Into the Breach spend dozens of hours saving the world from the alien invasion, one thoughtful turn at a time. Well, thank you guys so much for watching the entire video. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. And definitely check out my other top 10 videos for the Nintendo Switch. And if you don't want to miss any of my future videos, all it takes is clicking that subscribe button. We'll see you in the next video.